Who is your favourite serial killer? Do you have their poster on your wall? Sadly, plenty of people do, and that is what Adam and I are exploring here today. Because over the last few years, true crime hasn't just grown, it's exploded. If you could look at a graph or a chart, Adam, I know you're an analytical guy, it would be just it's on an upwards trajectory. It has been, since you started, but I don't think you should take the credit for it, to be honest. But
Do you think it's me or serial that should take most credit?
It's 50-50. It's 50-50. But regardless of who started this trend of true crime, it's everywhere now. Podcasts like this, like Adam's and mine, Netflix documentaries, YouTube channels, TikTok clips, reels, shorts, whatever you want to call it on whichever platform. There's almost an endless stream of true crime content out there. With that growth comes something else, a sort of culture around true crime that can feel, at times, a bit uncomfortable. We're going to have an open and honest conversation about this today. Hello and welcome to True Crime Catch Up. I'm Stuart Blues. My co-host there is Adam Lloyd.
Hello.
Wow, he jumped in quick.
Quick.
I knew it. I knew we'd get there eventually. On this show, we talk about all things true crime. So make sure you're following the podcast. Subscribe on YouTube if you're watching there. You want to see Adam's lovely face, so you don't miss out on new episodes. We release one every single Wednesday, and it comes out on Tuesday night on YouTube. So, if you subscribe on there, you get it earlier, Adam. We always love to get things earlier.
Absolutely.
A premature release, if you will. Would that be fair to say?
Probably not.
Probably not. So, Adam, where are we going to kick this off today? Probably the wrong choice of phrase after Wembley and the events of our little trip on Sunday.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was good to see you at the weekend shoot at Wembley, but I think the less we say about the performance of the mighty Leeds United, the better, don't you?
I think so, yeah. I mean, Adam and I went down to Wembley on Sunday just gone. Not together, but we met there. Adam flew in his private jet and I drove in my little car. And we met up and we had a drink and we had a great time at the ground in the hospitality. Everything apart from the game was fantastic, wasn't it? We had a good time.
It was really good. And can you hear what's going on in the background in my house?
Yeah, well, I thought it was just the cogs turning in your brain, Adam, but go on. Just in case the audio can't cut out the banging,
yeah,
please address the elephant in the room.
Well, we got some flooring going down. And do you know what the floor panels are not? They're not serial killers. They're not serial killers. I didn't go for the serial killer flooring because today, as you said, we're talking about things, and we see it all the time, right, Stuart, about people buying mugs with serial killer faces on them, visiting locations where murders have taken place. It almost feels like they're ticking off tourist attractions. Like, people go to New York and they do the Sex and the City tour. Then here in the UK, they might go to London and they might do the Jack the Ripper tour. Jack the Ripper, even that name Ripper gets to me. But anyway, look, none of this is straightforward because on one hand, interest in crime is completely natural, and both of us and all our listeners today, we love true crime. But on the other, and we all feel it, there is a point where it starts to feel like something else entirely. So today, Stuart, I think we're asking a simple question, aren't we? But it's not an easy one to answer. When does interest in true crime actually cross a line?
It's a good question. And I'm going to think of an answer while Adam's getting a new wing put on his house. But I just want to circle back. That's such an office term. I want to circle back quickly to the first quarter. Jack the Ripper tour, I've done that, admittedly. I actually got a magnet. It's on the fridge, embarrassingly, of Jack the Ripper's silhouette. So what an embarrassment I am. But yeah, I've got a lot to say about this from a personal side of things because I never bought the mugs with the faces on. I never bought serial killer word searches or T-shirts or anything, any merch, if you like. But I have always had a fascination with them. I remember buying a serial killer book when I was a younger adult at one point. And who I was with at the time, they were like, that's a bit weird that you're buying that. And I was like, it interests me. I'm sorry, but it does. But when you start producing your own content and you're researching this stuff week in, week out, and you're going to panels and conventions, like I've said countless times on this show, and you're hearing from people that have been involved in it, whether they've had a family member killed, a friend, or they've worked on it as a detective, for example, or a judge. Just listing off all my guests I've had on here. What have I had? A judge, a scientist, a doctor, detective.
Top podcaster.
Yeah, and Adam.
Yeah,
He's
and
been
me.
on.
Yep, yep.
He's been on. But yeah, once you do all that stuff, you kind of start realizing that this is real life. And that's when you do look back on stuff like going to the Jack the Ripper. And it's shit as well. It's not a good museum. It's ridiculous. You look back and think, well, I wouldn't be ashamed. I just think, yeah, chalk it off to a bit of naivety, I
Well,
guess.
I think you move on, don't you? I mean, when
Yeah.
I first started my podcast, a lot of my wording was terrible. We discussed on here even last year. I think I used the term domestic violence, and rightly
Yeah.
so. You pulled me up, domestic abuse, and
Mhm.
I used the term prostitute when I started. I didn't realize just how offensive that was as well. And there's
Mhm.
numerous others, and it's learning. Whereas now to go to something like a Jack the Ripper walk or anything like that, it just makes my blood run cold. It really does.
Yeah, it's the moniker thing, isn't it? I mean, there's not a clear line about this whole thing. It doesn't make you a bad person if you like that stuff or if you get a t-shirt with it on, I guess. But that's what makes it such an interesting topic, I think. It's can get quite uncomfortable the more you think about it because I mean, you're listening to this podcast. I'm assuming you listen to either Adams or myself, perhaps not both. Not many people have heard of the other if they're fans of one of us, which I find hilarious. But if you do, you're already part of that world, even as a content consumer, I guess. I mean, we both are. You know, I don't listen
Massively.
to as many podcasts as I used to, but I like documentaries still.
Yeah.
And everyone who watches one of those things or listens to a case, reads a book, they're very popular in the niche, in the genre, if you like. We're all engaging with real events that involved real people. And that's the distinction that we need to remember. There's a difference between reading a Stephen King novel or whoever, knowing that that's a fake story or fiction is a better term, versus a non-fiction true story. But the difference is sometimes hard to appreciate because they're both just words on a page.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time, the engagement comes from a good place. Curiosity is probably the one that is human nature, right? Trying to
Yeah.
understand what's happened, how someone can be so abhorrent and do something
Yeah.
so atrocious.
Yeah.
Empathy for victims is the one that's I've learned over the years, and just understanding that these are real things. And even wanting a sense of justice at times. You see a lot of these miscarriage cases, which again, naively, I probably wasn't aware of, or how many people have been wronged by corrupt forces or stations or a victim of the time. But then you do start to notice certain things around the edges of that world, stuff that doesn't sit right. Once you notice them, you can't really unsee them. So what we're going to do today is talk through some of those. We are going to touch on serial killer merchandise, the idea of criminals becoming celebrities, you know, the whole famous, infamous kind of thing. It is a fine line and a growing trend of what is known as dark tourism. That's a documentary I've also watched, which was very interesting. And throughout all of it, we're going to keep coming back to that same question. Where is that line? And are we closer to it than we think, Adam?
Well, I think before we even start, we need to understand why true crime is so popular in the first place, because it's not new, is it? People have been drawn to crime in some way. If you go back far enough, public executions are attended by huge crowds. Newspapers, they've always led with crime stories. It's what people want to read. But I think what's changed is, well, it's the internet. I think it's changed everything. You might have thought you were the weirdo for being interested in true crime, and then suddenly you realize that loads of other people like us and the other people listening are just the same. But the scale and the accessibility now is there, isn't it? All the time. You don't have to wait for a newspaper, a TV program. You can listen to hours and hours of crime content every single day if you want to. This is episode number 26, Stuart. So you've got a whole day, whole 24 hours almost of true crime catch up content. What more do you want for someone you love?
Money.
Money? Yeah, Joe Rogan. I think a large part of it is down to human curiosity. There's something about extreme behavior, isn't it? Especially violent crime, that people feel they want to understand. Not necessarily because they relate to it, because well, most people don't. It's so far outside normal experience that it raises questions. I mean, last week I covered a case of a gangster, bunch of gangsters like in the drill scene. One man was murdered outside a birthday party in Essex, and the lives of these people that did it. It's so completely foreign to me and alien to me. It was fascinating. And why does someone do it? That's the thing. Could it have been prevented? And then there's also the element of control, isn't there? People talk about a lot. that listening to true crime can almost feel like learning, like you're picking up warning signs, understanding risk, telling yourself, I would never be in that situation. I don't know about you, Stuart. I don't really buy that. Do you buy that?
See, I'd be the opposite. I hear from a lot of people who appreciate the awareness side, even if it's unintentional. So let's say October, Domestic Abuse Awareness Month, right? I tend to do more domestic abuse style cases in that month because it makes sense. It's a month of highlighting
Yeah.
that. It should be highlighted throughout the year.
Yeah.
But that month in particular is sort of dedicated to it worldwide. People, I think, because if people listening aren't aware, the main audience is women. That's based on a lot of people's analytics. That's the primary audience for true crime content. Men listen as well, of course they do.
Is that YouTube as well, and documentaries, or mainly podcasts?
I can't. My YouTube is similar. It's a very similar analytics. But just as a whole, I've been to so many panels from experts who've said the same thing, that a lot of women are interested in this, and a lot of it comes from a side of wanting to learn and prevention. And because if you hear about a story and you think, wow, I didn't even know that could possibly happen ever. You know, it could be someone who walks home after a night shift or a late shift at work, and they're alone traveling on the train and something happens to them. That could lead to someone making sure they have a buddy when they travel home, or even doing the old carpool thing, making sure you've always got someone with you by your side. So I think people are genuine when they say that. I don't think it's not an excuse. What's the term? I don't think it's them over reasoning why they enjoy true crime, because even the word enjoy feels weird.
Well, it does. And if you're right, and I hope you are right, even if it just saves one person being the victim of crime, then it's a positive thing, isn't it? But that we've discussed this before. I still think for most people, it's just pure entertainment. But whatever the reason, in a way, it almost doesn't matter, does it? There's so many different reasons why people could be drawn to true crime. And it makes absolutely sense, because I think this a lot, and I think we've had this conversation, that if you watch a drama on TV, a fiction, it's always a crime takes place, then it's investigated, then the bad guy gets put away, right? That's the normal format. And that is what true crime is about, isn't it? That's what true crime is. So why watch made up stuff when real crime is so much more fascinating?
I think, they do say that truth is stranger than fiction. That's one of the common phrases. I guess there is a storytelling aspect to it that's quite important. And I guess that's what sets the ones that are at the top of the table away from because there's probably hundreds of thousands of podcasts, if not millions, out now.
Yeah.
And only a certain percentage. Like, look at Red Handed.
Hmm.
A lot of people give them stick. They don't like that. Personally, I've never, if you're listening, I know we've done an ad for them before. I've never actually listened to that show. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to pretend I am who I'm not. But I've heard from some elements of online that they don't like the style of the presenters. I can't judge on it because I've not heard, but they are number one every single week.
Yeah.
So for everyone that doesn't like it, there must be 5-10 times the people that do.
And isn't that the sheer joy of podcasts in particular, that like my show and your show, and I say it quite openly, when people say, I thought this was rubbish, that's absolutely fine. It's not for everyone. Whatever your tastes are, then there's something for you, isn't there?
There is. And the irony is that our shows are so similar, yet you'll get people that despise one of them and loves the other, or hates them both, is more realistic, I guess.
It can just be the accent, can't you? How you describe things, anything. And that's fine.
It could be anything. It could be the accent. It could be I don't like a solo host. It could be I don't like a man telling me the story of true crime.
Yeah.
And I get it. I completely understand it. But a lot of this content is presented, and this goes back to the intuition side of human nature, and it's presented like a puzzle. It is quite formulaic at times, especially in the solved cases, and with the dramas you mentioned, the fictional shows, they are always following the same format. It starts with a bang to get the viewer in. It starts with a murder, then it goes back to, and then it jumps back and forth in the timeline. I hate that personally, so I don't do my show that way. I like chronological. I would prefer a steady build through the timeline from the background to the build, the connection between the victim and the perpetrator, all the way up to the murder happening. The investigation comes after, then the trial. That's how I like it personally. And some people might go, how can you enjoy that? It's boring. Some people will think that, even though these are real stories.
Yep.
The puzzle has to be solved. Then again, if it's unsolved, Adam, there's also a market for that. Do you ever cover unsolved, by the way? Because that's something I have gotten into in the past sort of 12 months. I think I've done 11. I did Jill Dando recently. I think that was my 11th unsolved case. Do you do many of them?
I don't do many because me personally, I don't like it as much. I like to know what happens. I'm just really, really nosy and really curious. But actually, the one I've just released today, it was about prison officer in Northern Ireland. Do you remember this case, Stuart? David Black.
Yeah.
Driving home, got shot, still unsolved. But it's one of those cases, again, that everyone knows, or so you hear, everyone knows who did it. But as we know, being a true crime fan, our listeners would have heard this a million times before. Unless you've got the evidence, person can't be convicted, can they?
See, I like the idea of, and it is a bit of a stretch, I like the idea of releasing a story that's still potentially solvable. And this sounds arrogant, but I like the idea of someone listening to, whether it's my podcast or another piece of media, someone listening to that and just so happening to take on board a call to action of, if you know anything or saw anything on this night, you know, the old Crime Watch thing.
Yeah.
If you know anything, give us a call, and they'd get hundreds of calls. I like the possibility of something getting solved that you've helped raise awareness for. I'm not zero credit, obviously. Does that make sense? That you've helped make someone aware of something that happened that they didn't know previously.
It does,
especially if it's still ongoing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got 2 longer form podcasts. I know that you know, Stuart, that I'm working on at the moment. There's one I've almost finished. It's about a guy called Edward Corns, student university who died, and then I'm working with his family to find out answers for what actually happened to him. And so what we're hoping for is that people will come forward with information, and that will change the nature of the investigation. And the other one is an unsolved murder from the 80s. So I do like it. The feedback I tend to get from my listeners, there's 2 things my listeners don't tend to like. They don't tend to like multi-parters. I know some people do lots of multi-parters and they seem to be adored by their audience. Mine don't. And generally speaking, unsolved people are less keen on. Do you find similar?
Okay. With the multiple parters, yes. I'm only basing that off. I asked that question to my Patreon members recently because I've had a few cases in the past couple of weeks that have been longer than they're used to and that I'm used to, because I don't know whether that's because the cases are more complicated or my writing's getting better, my research, I don't know. But they've been coming in at 45 minutes roughly, where my show's always been advertised as bite-sized, 15 to 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And naturally you get better as you do. I've got 5 years I've been doing it now.
Yeah.
But I asked them, I said, look, I've got a longer case here. It's about 45 minutes. Would that be more digestible if I split it in 2, or would you prefer a longer single episode? 100% of them said single episode. The reason, they can pause that and come back to it, and it's exactly where they left off. If it's a 2-parter, a lot of people wait for the second part and then they forget that it's come out. Maybe you listen to the first part and not the second.
Yeah.
I always found the second parter never performed as well, bizarrely. But the unsolved stuff, that was just a decision I took because, and this is the thing, when you're consuming story after story, or whether you're writing story after story, there is a risk that it all blends into one. I know you and I have had discussions where we can sometimes struggle to recall cases that we've even done in the past few months, whether that's self-preservation from a mental health perspective. I think it is personally, but there is a risk of all these cases blending, and that's not doing justice to the families who know that story like the back of the hand. For me, it was a little bit of, I wanted to do something different. The most logical way to do that, to keep it British murders still, was to explore the unsolved. And do you know what I really find fascinating? The unsolved ones. And I I'm so optimistic in the hope that these can get solved, because we're seeing so many solved now from decades gone by, aren't we? So I don't know. It's not something I do every week. You have some podcasts that are just unsolved. I think that wouldn't scratch any kind of itch as a consumer for me personally. I like the open and shut aspect of it as well. But just speaking of the mental health side, it's hard. Do you find it hard to, I don't know, detach? What am I trying to say? Do you find it hard to manage doing this every week, I guess is my question. We may have discussed this before, but do you find it hard to research these stories every single week and then compartmentalize it somehow?
Yes, I do, but I think of it very much as a service, don't you? A service I'm carrying out. I know that sounds a bit a bit twee almost, but I do, because it comes back to why we do the true crime podcasts with the drilling in the background. Is
That's not drill music, by the way. That's just a drill.
the reason I do it for the stories I tell is I believe that the stories need to be heard more widely. And we get all the criticism, oh, you're just exploiting people's tragedy to make money. But I think of it the other way around. I think we're telling stories often that haven't been told enough, or telling other aspects of stories. So you almost have a professional side to yourself. But on saying that, I actually almost got upset yesterday for the very first time for a long time, when I was looking at other prison officers, like the David Black case I was talking about. There have been 32 prison officers killed in Northern Ireland. 32 prison officers. I was reading one case about a man and his wife, Patrick Mackin, that was his name, 60-year-old, his wife Violet, and they were attacked in their own home by terrorists and murdered because he used to be a prison officer. And just the reality of it. And then his son came around the next morning with two young children and just found his dad and his mum murdered. And what was the crime? Doing their job as a prison officer. I just find it sometimes I do find it upsetting, but you've got to tell the stories in the best way you can, haven't you?
Are there any stories that you avoid?
Yeah, always. I never covered child cases. I was offered a case recently, an insight onto a case of animal cruelty. I just couldn't. I can't do it. Can't do it. I think I just wouldn't be able to handle either of those. But you do cover child cases, don't you, Stuart?
You make me sound like a
Hey,
right
you hard-nosed git.
heartless bastard. Adam's the voice of the voiceless over here.
Yeah.
Here's me, the cold-blooded Iceman, who'll do anything. Do you know what? I do them less frequently than I used to. I used to do them far more often, until I think I've spoken about the Jamie Lavis case on here. That one really affected me, got me down in the dumps for a good few weeks. And I didn't cover a case involving a child for a while. However, you go back to the point of raising awareness. I think at some point you've just got to get over yourself. You've got to get over that this I might find this difficult to talk about, when the reality is it's got nothing to, we have no say in this story. We are not involved in it. It's not our story to tell. It didn't affect us in the slightest. So any slight discomfort from reading a story such as that doesn't have a patch on what that person's family's gone through.
Yeah.
Like I covered Sarah Payne recently. It's a story that's been covered a lot. I wanted to cover that one to tell it in my own way. She's the age my daughter's going to be this year, so there's an extra aspect of that. I just think it's a challenge as well. It's a challenge to do something that makes you uncomfortable and see if it does affect you. Do you get, the presenting style, does it improve? Does your confidence improve? I'm not trying to make myself a hard nose. You know, they say if you watch enough horror films, you get desensitized to violence. That's not what I'm trying to achieve. But I think it's equally as important to tell those children's cases, because they were little kids, man. They need to be remembered, arguably more than anyone. A lot of people don't listen to them. A lot of people don't listen to kids' ones.
No.
So, you know.
I did cover one in a children's home once. I found that very upsetting. Yeah, but you just move on, don't you? I think as you get more experience as a true crime podcaster. Because no one's forcing us to make true crime podcasts every week, right? It's our choice to do so.
Of course.
But I think you just find the area that, one, that is interest of you, and two, that your audience like and tell you that they like. And that's who you're. I know it sounds like I'm a civil servant, but that's who you're serving in the end, aren't you? You're serving your listeners. That's what it's about.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting point, because I'm sure when you and I both started, we released cases that we wanted to cover, and I think
100%.
you could probably say that for any true crime medium. You know, Netflix isn't going to make a documentary about a case that people don't want to hear about. It's a harsh truth. However, I still think it's important to cover cases that haven't been covered. I think the one I've done on Monday just gone, Gary Dean, I don't think his story's ever been covered. He was a 48-year-old man, autistic. He went on a run every single morning, religiously, was deeply obsessed with running, part of his condition. That's what he was focused on. Everyone's different. And so his wife worked as a head teacher. So he used to go on the same run. He'd run marathons, London Marathon. We've just had that on Sunday. He'd run it about 18 times, one source said. And he used to go across the same path that went across this mother and son's land. Now, he might step off the path every now and again, and they hated him for it. They hated anyone stepping on their land. Long story short, a neighbourly dispute ended in murder. I don't think that story's been covered on a podcast before. So I deem stuff like that also important to cover. I know some people only cover lesser known cases. Good luck to you. That's great. The comparison thing, I think, again, as we become a bit more longer in the tooth, I think we just get into a stage now where even you and I, you can't compare our shows because they're different. The different order. You and I are different. We present different ages, vastly, from different places, different accents, different stories. We could do the same story and it'd be different.
Absolutely right. And do you know, this is another key point that I think you've just brought up that made me think. So do you remember when Twisted Britain was going, Bob and Ali?
Yeah.
I remember speaking to Bob. I know Bob quite well, lives in Stirling, not too far from me. But I know on their podcast, they only cover very old cases. And the reason they cover old cases, and I know other people do the same, it's because it's distant history. And so they think that the people that they talk about are no longer alive, and so they won't cause any offence to people that are alive. And that's one of the issues that podcasters always face. I mean, how many times you get told you don't have a right to cover this without getting the permission of the family? We get told this a lot. Mm-hmm. And particularly if you do like a funny podcast. I know there's an example of people that do humorous podcasts that won't go to live events, for example, like someone like a crime con, because they're worried how they'll be received by, more hardcore, if that's the word, true crime fans. Because any sort of edginess or humor, you've got to use it so carefully, haven't you, in true crime?
You got to be tactful. But the thing that's frustrating is that if someone says, "Oh, you don't get the permission of people," in the grand scheme of things, you're right. But both you and I, you're doing it right now. We have worked with families before, and every family is different. I've had a family, I think I've told you, where they were happy I did the episode 1 month, 3 months later, they weren't happy with it. Everyone's different. So no one has, how can I word this without sounding like a bellend? No one.
I make a change, Stuart.
I know I make a change. No one has the right to be offended or have a certain belief on behalf of someone else because you are not them and vice versa.
Yeah.
Perhaps you'd be right, but you don't know that person as much as I don't. So this is why I know you and I both do the same. Make sure the content is respectful, tactful, presented in the right way, without the sort of humor, because I don't think that's appropriate personally. Some people are happy with it. Fair play to them. Now, I am aware that we came into this to discuss serial killer merchandise and all this shit. We've just basically this is what Adam and I kind of talk about when we ring each other pretty much every day at this point. And so, yeah, you've been let in really on a bit of a private chat here, but Do you want to talk briefly about serial killer merchandise? Seeing as though you put all this effort into the script this morning, so you may as well read the words that you've written.
I just think it's garbage. I just don't like it. I just don't like it at all. I think it's rubbish. And I know I go on about this all the time. Hollywood having Zac Efron play Bundy, I think it's outrageous, absolutely outrageous. I hate it. I hate everything about it. I think people need to take a long, hard look at themselves, or actually, if they're thinking of this way about Bundy, go and actually look what he actually did with his bodies of his victims. Just a repulsive man. I don't like to use the word evil or wicked. And funny enough, I was going to ask you about this. I don't like people that use those words in relation to crime. Do you? Evil and wicked, do you ever use those words? A bit religious for me.
I'm not religious myself, so it
No,
don't bother me.
I'm not, but I don't know what they mean. Even evil and wicked, it's very subjective, isn't it? I'd rather we just stick to the point.
I think evil is kind of implied. I think it's, I don't know. I don't tend to use those words. Wicked, I would never use. I don't. That's not really my unless I was going wicked like Ali G used to back in the day.
I mean, Stuart, you're a celebrity. We know this. You're always spotted when you're out on the mean streets of West Yorkshire. But how do you feel? How do you feel about some of these criminals almost becoming like celebrities? What would you make of that?
It is weird. Can I just say for the record, I've never once in 5+ years been recognised yet. And someone say, "Are you Stu off British Murders?" I've never had that ever.
What about Justin Timberlake? Do people say you're Justin Timberlake or not?
Oh, when I was a youngster, I used to get that all the time. All the time.
Do you know who I used to get? James Nesbitt.
Right, said Fred.
James Nesbitt, people say I look like. I don't think I do, but that's fried hair, I guess. Back in the good old days.
I kind of bushy eyebrows, yeah. I can kind of see it, yeah.
I think I'm better looking and probably much richer, I imagine, don't you?
Well, I'm not sure about the latter. I was going to ask you about the Zac Efron thing. We're just ad-libbing here, people, so bear with us. I was going to ask you about that thing. Do you not think there's a degree I imagine if people are shouting this at the whatever they're listening to this on, when you mention you don't like stuff like Zac Efron playing Bundy and all that, you think it's disgusting. Do you not think there's a smidgen, though, of hypocrisy with that? Is there not an aspect of pot calling the kettle black based on what we do? Why is it okay that we can do it, but Zac Efron can't take on what is a job, portraying someone like that for what I'm assuming was a very successful drama series? Is there any hypocrisy in what you're saying? I'm sure people will be thinking it, so I just want to call that out.
No. If you're casting someone to play to play Bundy, you get the ugliest, horrible-looking person.
So you're envious of Zac Efron's good looks?
Well,
is the long and short of
it. Since I took the Bundy poster down and put the Zac Efron poster up in my bedroom, my wife wasn't overly impressed. But you got to do, Stuart, haven't you? You got to do this stuff. But that was my issue with it. You don't put a pretty boy into that sort of.
People thought Bundy was handsome, though. I don't get it, but there's a common belief that he was a handsome guy.
I know, but surely when he does what he does, any comments about his looks, all the rest of it just goes out the window, right? It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, I get it. I do get it. I mean,
but that brings us on to we didn't plan to talk about it, but people that are in all the love letters that murderers get in prison and marriage proposals.
What's the term for it? Let me see if I can find the term for it. Well, yeah, I mean, crazy, goes without saying. But yeah, there's people that write love letters to prisoners and they become obsessed with them. I don't understand it. Have you ever done it? And why?
Well, obviously I've written a few to Taylor Swift over the years, but that's different. That's normal, right?
Is she in prison? What's she done?
Well, there's so much I could say, but I best not. Let me just come back to a point I want to make before we finish. I know we're running out of time while you try and find the word you're looking for. But just going back to what I said before about historical distance and recent events, I think that's really, really important. So we spoke about the Jack the Ripper tours, right? But visiting a site connected to something that happened decades or centuries ago, I think it's very different from turning up somewhere that's still fresh in people's memories. I think that's a really key distinction. If somebody was killed maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I think turning up there, or even I think the Fred West House has been it's been demolished now, hasn't it? But because a lot of people used to turn up there, and I think that's where a lot of that discomfort comes from. We've spoken on this podcast last year about neighbours who don't want to be named in podcast documentaries
Yeah,
because they're still living their lives, right? And it can feel intrusive, even if that's not the intention.
it is. But it's interesting, these spots. I would never seek out, I don't think, like a dark tourism. It's a weird term, isn't it? But whenever you walk in a public park, generally you'll see benches that have memorials on them that people have
Fascinated by them.
yeah,
Fascinated, aren't you?
yeah, dedicated to their loved one. Typically, it's Betty was died in her sleep. She always loved this park, wanted a bench. Normally, it's someone who's just died. But when I went to Horsforth Park the other day, I saw a bench, and they're all well maintained, these benches. And there was one that had some teddy bears on it. So my daughter's going, what are they there? And I'm like, oh, they're just sort of tributes, like flowers, I guess. So I'm instantly thinking this is a kid who the bench is dedicated to. So my spidey sense is tingling already. And I looked at it and it said Forever 15. And I think he was called Louis or Lewis, the lad. And he was a 15-year-old. And I just knew that he'd been stabbed to death. I don't know why. It's one of those things that's becoming so common, worryingly so, that you see it on the news and you think, oh, another one. That's what it's like now. Lo and behold, I Google it online, and this 15-year-old boy stabbed outside a primary school to death by a 14-year-old. And it's because I saw the wording on there. There's a picture of him on a plaque, and it said something like needlessly taken at 15 or something like that. When you see something like that, it does hit home. But I think there's a difference between happening upon it by chance and thinking, oh, I want to go to, the house where, the House of Horrors or whatever, if it was still here. I want to go to 10 Rillington Place if it was still here. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a difference between seeking it out, which I do think is a bit weird, versus if you happen upon it and they're
Yeah.
like, oh, did you know that? And you'd be like, oh, right, wow, there's a weird feel. I don't know. There is something about seeing these places in the flesh.
And
I don't know what it is.
Well, it's back to where we started. It's that curiosity, isn't it? It's that curiosity.
Yeah.
People are interested. And really, when you take everything we've said today, what you've said, the merchandise, the attention, the tourism, it all comes back to that same question that we started off with. Where is that line? And you know what, Stuart? I don't think it's a simple answer, because engaging with true crime is not inherently wrong. Whatever sort of true crime you engage with, it can inform, raise awareness, and as you've said, it can even contribute to justice in some cases. But I think the overall key is awareness. You've got to be conscious of how these stories are being told, how they're being consumed, and what impact that has.
Yeah, I'm just aware that in the video I'm holding my roll of dog poo bags for some reason.
In case you get caught short, maybe.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's quite good for you.
Thanks.
Yeah, so the term was hybristophilia. I can hear people shouting at their all 10 listeners are shouting at their player. Hybristophilia is the condition of women being obsessed with murderers.
It's not just women, though, is it? I bet there's some men that are doing it.
It's not, but I mean, that definition does just say women, but I'm guessing it's just people. It's known as Bonnie and Clyde syndrome in layman's terms. After what were they bandits? Bonnie and Clyde?
Yeah,
were they bandits on the run?
Just as an aside, I don't know why I'm saying this completely out of context, but I read Laura Richards' Instagram today. She has a podcast, doesn't she? Very strong on anti-violence against women. She was talking about banning men with any sort of violent history from dating sites. I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
Just apropos nothing. I mean, something's got to change, hasn't it?
It is, but again, it's just a blue sky idea, isn't it? Because how the hell do you enforce that?
Yeah.
But it's a good idea. I like it.
It is.
Would the same apply to would it be just men though?
I know, have to be women as well, wouldn't it?
I think it'd be anyone with a violent past, surely.
You know what, Stuart? The more I think about true crime content forever, for me, it all comes down to something that we discuss a lot. It's empathy, isn't it? I think that's the simplest way to put it. If you keep the victims, whatever the story is, if you keep those victims at the centre, you keep remembering these were the real people with families, with lives, then I think it naturally shapes how you engage with it. And I think that's the line that we're aware of. It's not something fixed, is it? Because it changes in time, but something you're constantly aware of, because once you lose that awareness, I think it becomes much easier to slip into something else entirely, don't you?
Yeah, I think you're right. And I mean, at this point, we would normally insert an animal story. I'm going to cut the conversation off there because I think we would just talk for 3 hours. So we don't have an animal story this week
Boo.
because Adam wrote the script and he can never be bothered to find one anymore.
Nothing from Australia or California 300 years ago involving a shark?
Well,
No?
what was that? What was that year I've been covering recently?
35, wasn't it?
1935, was it? Yeah, there's probably something else in 1935.
Back when I was
But
a youngster, yeah.
yeah, back when Adam was 20. So we wanted to share with you our pets, I guess. So I mean, I've got less than you. It'll probably take less time. So shall I go first?
Go on then, you go first. Who have you got? Who have you got in the house?
I got 3 dogs in the house. I got no jokes, Adam. I've got 3 dogs in the house. The oldest is my faithful pug cross called Bruce. He is the oldest. I think he's 5. Is he 5 this year? He's 6 this year, I think, actually. He's got a little grey beard. In human years, is around my age, apparently. And whenever I do my journal now on Patreon, I do a journal every week. I've done 106 of those, which is, what, 2 years and a bit? And I used to do them in my office, just record them like this. But then I thought, you know what? Sometimes I talk better when I'm out and about. So I take Brucey on a walk, usually on a Sunday or a Monday morning. I've got a little lapel microphone and I just walk and talk to myself. People probably think I'm nuts, but you can hear him in the background, you know. More so, they think I'm nuts, is what you're going to say, right?
Well, like a little Brucey bonus, really. You could call it that walk. Couldn't
Well, I like it. I like it. We've also got a Chihuahua, a fluffy Chihuahua, who is Luna, and she is 4 this year, I want to say. And then we have a bald dog called Adam.
I like it. Oh, you
Not
make yourself
Connor.
laugh, shit. It must be great.
I
mustn't
do.
it?
I'm laughing. I'm laughing because my eldest says she's called Ophelia. This dog. She says she's bald like Adam is what she said to
That's
me
what she
before.
says.
She said that to me before, which made me laugh.
So you disciplined her, did you? Locked her in a room for a week or something?
I give her a treat.
Yeah.
My child, not the dog. So yeah, Ophelia, she's a little bald Chihuahua crossed with a Chinese crested, and she's 2.
Oh, bless
Yeah, she's
them.
very, very cute. She's completely hairless apart from a white patch on her. So ironically, she's reverse bald because her whole body's got no hair, but she's got white hair, which, you know, is great. And a little bit on the tail.
Oh, very good.
Just like you.
Yeah, it's a little bit like me. So who have we got? We got 2 dogs. Buckley's half Dalmatian, half poodle. He's 10 soon. He's getting on a bit now. Bless him. He's a bundle of laughs. Then we've got Dizzy Rascal, who's a full Dalmatian. He's 7. I know, it's a great name, isn't it? It's called him Dizzo. His name is Dizzo in our family.
We've got Dizzy Rascal.
Dizzo. So he's 7 this summer. He's just a loon as a dog. Yeah, absolute crazy dog. Then we've got 5 cats. Did have 7. We've now got 5. So we've got Joni Mitchell, who we found out was a boy. We've got Katy Perry, who we found out was a boy. We've got Oasis, who is a girl. Then we've got Ginge. He was called Bowie, but Ginge just stuck for obvious reasons. Then his sister, Madge. They're must be about 9 or 10 now. They're all getting on. But I can't imagine a house without a pet. Can you?
No, as annoying as they can be, it would feel empty, I think, without them.
A bit like for our listeners, if the True Crime Catch Up wasn't in their feed every single week, Stuart, maybe.
Yeah, they might feel empty for a week and then just get on with their lives.
Yeah.
Find a better show to listen to. So we're going to end it there, people. If you enjoy somehow this show, please follow us or subscribe on YouTube. We're doing new episodes every single week. Thanks for catching up with us, Adam. It's a pleasure as always, and everyone else. What's a good sign off for me? Because you've nicked mine on this. You say cheerio. What can I say? I don't want to say look after yourselves, stay safe, God bless. God bless. I don't know.
Look after
See
yourselves.
you later.
Yeah.
Look after yourselves.
Laters.
Yeah.